Welcome back to the channel. In the last video, we did the engine mounts for the K24 mini truck build. Today, I'm excited and nervous at the same time because we're gonna be making the suspension. Now, there is tons of different kinds of suspension we could make. The ones that I've seen the most on like little trucks like this, and even the stock suspension that came off it, is like a trailing arm setup suspension. So I think I wanna stick with that kind of suspension. It seems fairly simple in the geometry wise and stuff like that. So we're gonna try to make our own trailing arms. And once the suspension's done, we can do the CV axles. And the funny thing about the CV axles is I have these hubs. The splines for these hubs are different than the stock CV axles for this engine. Essentially, I'll have a different kind of CV axle to mesh up with the splines for this, and at the other end it'll be another different kind of CV axle that'll mesh up with the splines going into the engine or the transmission. So essentially you're taking two different CV axles, cutting them in half, joining them. We're making some custom parts, you know what I'm saying? So that's gonna be fun. Even shortening the CV axles, there's lots of people that have done it, but you know, you wanna make it strong as possible. So what's the first step that we do when we're making something from scratch? You bust out the paper. Let's start making a trailing arm out of paper.
Let's party.
Okay, so this is the trailing arm that I kind of pieced together with paper, but I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest. So this heim joint will go into the end, and there'll be a bracket that comes off the frame about 3 inches and then down a bit, and then so it'll hook on to about there, about 5 inches down, and then this string line is perfectly centered to where the CV axle, or the middle of the hub, I guess. So this is the kind of swing arm suspension that you see on lots of side-by-sides and you know, stuff like that. And then they have here the bars on the side and all that stuff. But I'm not sure how I feel. I feel like this is just too boxy. And considering these heim joints are made for round tubing, I was thinking maybe I could make these out of 2 pieces of tubing. So I could have round tube that would follow this shape, it would bend and then bend again. And then this round part will be like Schedule 80 pipe, and it'll have a plate welded on it with the bolt holes for the hubs. The hub will bolt to that, and then if I use round tube, it'll bend here, and it'll be welded onto that piece of Schedule 80 pipe. But I just wasn't sure, like I don't want to use just one piece of tubing because I don't want it to bend or anything like that. So I was thinking if I did 2 pieces, same bends, so one at the top, one at the bottom, and then in the middle I could do like a decorative plate, and it'll add a lot of strength to it, but it'll be like a decorative plate or whatever in between, and it'll all be welded. I want to try that. I hope it'll be strong enough. There's only one way to find out. I think we'll scratch this idea and we'll bust out the tubing bender and we'll get a little chunk of tubing and we'll try out some bends and see if we can get this kind of angle going. I think it'll look cool. All right, let's get a piece of scrap tubing and bust out the bender and see if we can make some bends. I think I like the look of this better. So these 2 points will merge together but then it'll be something like that. These endpoints will go to the hub. I think that would be cool. And then in the middle, I'm gonna do that plate I was talking about all the way along. I welded one up. It's kind of what I was thinking. Looks pretty sweet. So that'll go, it'll mount 5 inches down. You got yourself a trailing arm. I think next, I want to make this bracket here where the trailing arm bolts onto, kind of like this, but that comes down. So yeah, let's do some more paper mache or whatever the hell you want to call it. Arts and crafts, arts and crafts, and we'll make a bracket for this. All right, I think I made something I'm happy with. So this will go, it'll go something like that. And then the heim joint will bolt onto these 2 tabs. And I'm gonna put some gussets in here and it's all gonna be welded to the frame. I think it should look all right. Time to cut it out of metal. Alright, we got the frame mounts made for the trailing arms. Now I just want to point out, I made these out of 1/4 inch steel. I think this is way overkill. Like I should have used like 3/16. These are freaking heavy. They're beefy. They're overkill. So we got 2 of these, and then we got both trailing arms. This one's not cleaned up yet, but 2 trailing arms. Next thing we gotta make is kind of like, you want to call it a spindle, the part that the hub bolts to, and then the wheel bolts onto the hub. So that's going to be like the main unit which everything is attached to. So I made this. This is a piece of 5-inch Schedule 40 pipe, and I welded a flange on the inside and put it in the lathe and cleaned it all up. It looked like this before. That's what it looked like. And then now it looks like this. She looks pretty sexy, huh?
Nice.
First thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna throw this in the lathe. I'm gonna clean this all off, make this nice and flat, both sides nice and flat, and then we'll cut the flange part out on the arc droid and weld it in, put it back in the lathe to give this 45-degree kind of chamfer, whatever you want to call it, bevel on there. Let's make another one. All right, I cleaned up this inner lip. Now we gotta cut out a plate, weld her in there. So now I need the right spacing. So I want enough on top of this piece that I can weld to and get good penetration, and I can still go over with the lathe and take a little bit off. So what I did with the last one is I have this just random heavy ass piece of metal, and I have these spacers. You can't really see it. There, now you can see it. I have these spacers. So when I drop this over and then I put this on, boom, she's spaced. And then I put this thinger on, and then I freaking clamp the sucker to the desk. Tighten the living piss out of it. There we go. You know, I'd like to clamp this down too, but it should be fine. I'll tack in a few spots, and then I'll take the clamp off, and then I'll weld all the way around. It might warp a bit, but that's okay because I'm putting in the lathe afterwards and I'll face it off and everything. The only thing left is I'm gonna preheat this a little bit with the torch just so it gets some of the moisture out of the metal, and then I'll freaking weld her up. Got it all welded up. That's hot. It's gotta let it cool off, then we'll chuck in the lathe, and we'll take a little bit more off and give a nice 45 to the weld so it all looks like one giant piece of metal. Alright, so I think what I'm gonna do is I have this clamped to the table. This table's flat. So I have this clamped to the table, and then I'm just gonna trim away until this fits nice. Kind of like that. This one I just have mocked up. I think it looks pretty freaking sick. And then I'm gonna end up putting a piece of tube right here, and then another brace coming off that tube to here, just for added strength. And maybe I'll plate this in. I'll have a nice plate all in here. Ooh, it'll look good. Look at that. Shit. And then we can kind of get a better visual of what it looks like on the truck. There they are. They're identical in every measurement, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to get them as close to identical as I possibly can, even though there is an inch of adjustment on the heim joints and all that stuff. So this is obviously not finished, right? They're just tacked together. Next, we'll cut the middle pieces for both, get them tacked in, and that third support that I was just talking about, get that all tacked up. All right, let's weld on some more tube. Alright, you guys, I think I'm ready to get these trailing arms on the truck. Now I kind of mocked up one side to try to see if I could do it, and I got a good feeling about it. I'll show you. Alright, so I got laser beams set up over there.
Frickin' laser beams!
So the front, I know the whole truck is completely level. I've got a plumb bob on there, so I know this is perfectly straight. You can kind of see it on video. I got a green laser beam. So I have a laser coming across these two studs. So I want to match that up with the rear, so I know it'll be the same ride height. I made these plates. I don't want to weld this 1/4 inch straight to this thinner tube. So I'll weld the mount to this thicker plate, and then I can weld all the way around that thicker plate to the frame, just for added strength. You can kind of see it. She is dead center. And then that string hanging there, see it's lit up green because the laser beam is on it. That is from the center of that hub to the center of this hub is 74 1/4 inches. So that's the wheelbase. Like, everything is perfectly straight. So far it's pretty much perfect. And then I still have an inch of adjustment or so on the heim joint. So even if I'm out a little bit, I can always fine tune it. All right, let's try to get this other side tacked on. I don't know what I'm really doing, but I'm trying to figure it out.
I don't know what any of this shit is, and I'm fucking scared.
But so far it seems like I'm playing by the rules. If you're ever nervous about doing something like this, just jump in the deep end, just go for it. Try it. Take it apart. Try to put it back together. Make something from scratch. What's the worst that'll happen? You gotta redo the part. Oh shit, eh? Let's get on the other side. I think I got this side lined up. Sorry for the poor lighting. I need to see my laser beams.
Frickin' laser beams!
Tack this on, and then we'll tack the mount on. Double check everything, and then hopefully we're good. Got it. The laser beam lined up with the front studs. Plumb bob on there. We got a perfect crosshairs, or whatever you want to call it. Laser beam. We got laser beams again. More laser beams, okay? Truck's level.
Aye, Bob's you frickin' auntie, huh?
Alright, we got her tacked. Now let's see what she looks like. Not gonna put the wheels on yet. Everything is neat, you know? Ooh.
Mint.
She's looking good. We got both sides tacked on now. Now I gotta do some brainstorming. I gotta have 2 pieces that come off here. Stabilizing arm or whatever the hell you wanna call it. I don't know what they're called. On side by sides. I'll throw a picture up, I'll show you. So we need to make something like that for here, because so as they go up and down, it stays straight. All right, my buddy Josh came over. He is an automotive engineer, the smartest guy I've ever talked to. It's mind-blowing. And he went over all the different kinds of suspension, like the geometry side of things, and it was so cool to even just listen to him talk. I should have took some videos, maybe if he comes down again, but I didn't get the chance to take any videos or anything. He drew up a bunch of different kinds of suspension and going over like the geometry side of things, which it's mind-blowing how much geometry and, you know, things to need to align, center gravity. My mind was blown. It's nuts. There's a lot to it. He likes where I'm at so far. Now next, we got to do the side links part. This is kind of where I'm at. So this hoop, it's just sitting in there. These strings are kind of mimicking where my CV axle should be. So one of the main things he was saying is that a link that comes this way and then that way, but you want to kind of match the angle of your CV axle. That's one thing I learned. I might bend this in a little bit more so it's not so much of an angle, and then we'll make a bunch of tabs that go all the way up here, and then we'll try different mounting points, and then so these links have to be straight also. So I'll have to have bracketry that come off of the spindle and stuff like that. So there's actually so much to it. It is crazy. I think we're gonna do the links and the shock mounts and stuff like that in a next video. Just because this video is already pretty long. I wanted to have everything in one video, but I think it'd be kind of cool to do a part 2 with the links side of things, because there's gonna be lots of testing and figuring out the angle and the geometry of things, which would be kind of cool. And then the shock mounts, where I'm gonna mount the shocks. I'm gonna do kind of like I don't remember what they're called, to be honest. Where the shocks are gonna be mounted in like a different area rather than like normal up and down. Kind of like a push rod suspension almost. I don't remember what it's called, but we'll save that for part 2. So far, I think it's looking pretty good, but it's a lot of thinking. Like I'm doing this with a freaking insane headache between my eyes. If you guys haven't liked or subscribed, please do so. It helps me out a lot. If you like and subscribe, comment. I'll answer all comments. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. But if it ain't upgraded, you gotta upgrade it. See you guys in part 2.